Ashley's kitchen had old, dark laminate and was missing the counter for her island. We'll transform this kitchen into a bright, vibrant space by pouring epoxy directly over the laminate. We'll even change the counter edges to a more modern, streamlined look and give her a counter that lets in light. That's all coming up, so keep watching. Let's work on the island first. I grab my straight edge and nail it down. Then I get the circular saw and cut along the edge. I measure and repeat this process for the other side. Once you're done cutting, all you need to do is pry the straight edge up with a hammer. Now, we'll need to cut out our curved edge. So let's take a look at our computer to explain how we'll do this. So, as you can see here, we made all of the outline of Ashley's kitchen in SketchUp, and we'll just zoom in. And as you can see, as we zoom in, if you look carefully at the rounded part of her island, you can see that there are these tiny little lines that are all drawn together to make it look like it has the appearance of the curve. Now, what we're going to be doing with our island is we're going to be doing something very similar in real life. Since all of the SketchUp, the measurements in SketchUp are accurate to how the kitchen actually is, what we're going to do is we're going to lay down some more guidelines, and then we're going to measure those out onto the island in real life and cut them out vertice to vertice, so that way we end up with an edge that is curved and is far more accurate than we could ever do on our own just by eyeballing it. Let's take a moment to talk about sanders. Now, there are 3 different types of sanders that you could potentially get or use. One of them is a belt sander. Now, this one you'll need to get sandpaper and the special tape of a belt in order to be able to sand with that. Other ones use a circle or a regular type of sandpaper just done down into a quarter sheet. That one requires a belt. Not only that, but it's better for a lot of rougher projects. On this, where you're wanting potentially more of a smooth finish, especially towards the end, you might not want to use it on this. It's better for rougher surfaces, not something as soft as MDF. A lot of people talk about random orbital sanders. What that does is it tends to go in a random circular motion. It requires circular pads of sandpaper to be attached onto it, and what it does is because it goes randomly in a circle while you're holding it, it kind of hides behind the repetitive marks of it. Now, a lot of people talk about that. Myself personally, I just use this 1/4 inch sander here. It's by Rigid. It has a really nice dust collection filter here, and as you can see, you can just take that off. You can also attach this to a shop vac if you need to, which can be really helpful on site if you have a shop vac. That just makes sure that there's less cleanup, it all goes into the vacuum, or you just have this container here that keeps a lot of it together. But with this one, there's some advantages. One to the orbital sander. With this, you don't have to buy the specific pads for random orbital sander and then additional ones for whenever you're touching up with hand sanding. This one just uses the same ones. As you can see here, I'm going to be trading this out, my 220, for some 120 grit. This is just some regular sandpaper, the kind you use for hand sanding. All you need to do is you need to fold it and tear it into a quarter sheet. Then what you do, this is just taking it out. As you can see, there's this thing here, this lever, which attaches it to the back, and this clamp that attaches it to the front. All that you do is you clamp it to the clamp first, make sure it gets in there, and then you let the lever close down on it. And it's kind of advantageous to not have to buy multiple different types of sandpaper. You just all use the same one, or even take it off of this and reuse it for hand sanding later if you need to, or vice versa. It's pretty useful. Additionally, better than hand sanding, the way that it sort of works is the same repetitive motion that you would do by sanding back and forth and back and forth. It just sort of shakes it back and forth, vibrating it. That's what it does, is it shakes it back and forth several times over, far faster than you could, which reduces the time by a lot. Additionally, another benefit of this sander is if you don't have a buffer on hand, in a pinch you can cut out a piece of cloth to roughly the quarter shape, strap it in, and then just use it as a buffer. This island is going to have a large overhang, so we wanted it to be really sturdy. We decided to make it double the thickness of a normal counter and glue down an extra sheet of MDF. I spread out the lines of glue I laid down with a tongue depressor, so the glue is more even and can adhere the two boards together better. Once that's done, I placed the first sheet on top and nailed the two down together. If you are worried about the excess woods or making the curves line up, don't stress about it. All you need to do is go over it with a flush trim bit with your router to cut off the excess. If you notice me backing up a bit, it's because the router bit is very long and pushing it too much can put a strain on the motor. So I listen to the motor and take it a little at a time, then back off. Spread Bondo to smooth the curve and sand the edge. When making a counter, you want to router the edges so that no one hurts themselves on a sharp edge, and so your epoxy can flow over the edges easily. I use a 1/4 inch roundover bit onto the top and an 1/8 inch roundover bit. While I'm at it, I will also cut out several strips of MDF, 1.5 inches in length, and router those. These will be used to give her counters the same edge as the island. With her island all smoothed out, it's time to paint. I used Gallery White paint and primer in 1 for this. I premix my epoxy for about a minute or two before I add in opaque white base tint, and mix some more until both parts and the base tint are thoroughly combined. You can partially tell this from the color. I then pour out my epoxy onto the island. I mix the epoxy a bit more with the trowel just to be on the safe side and spread it out evenly across the surface. Chop out the island using non-linear motions, then brush epoxy onto the sides using long, even strokes. Torch out the island to get all the bubbles we caused from mixing out. I then mix some pewter metallic with epoxy in a cup, and then chop it into the white on the board. You don't want an even pattern with this step. Chop some areas darker, then feather the color out into other areas. In the end, there should be at least a little color everywhere. There was also some diamond dust and white metallic epoxy that I chopped in over this. All of that chopping can cause a lot of bubbles, so I'm going to torch the piece over again. Use silver and white spray paint to spray a vein, then follow up with the heat gun to blast it out. I grabbed the pewter metallic epoxy and dragged it through the center of the vein. After that, we blow these lines out with the heat gun. And you can see the end result here. Let's review the stats. This is a 13.5 by 16.5 foot kitchen. At 223 total square feet, this is a larger kitchen. She has laminate counters that we will be covering over with epoxy. And we gotta change those edges. Once we're in Ashley's kitchen, the first thing I do is put down some ram board to protect the floor. We use contractor's grade tape to stick it down to the floor, as I found that ram board has a tendency to want to curl, and regular painter's tape isn't enough to tack it down. Next, I put some delicate removal tape on the cabinets. We're going to need to place some plastic on here, but I don't want the rougher tapes to stick to the cabinets and cause any peeling, so we wrap the delicate removal tape around them. This also adds another layer of protection from other elements as well. On this part, now that we're putting the plastic up, we're using 4mm plastic, just because we want that sturdier plastic to make sure that no rips or tears happen, especially during the epoxying process. I cut the backsplash off with a multi-tool. Then I filled the gap between the counter and the wall with 3/8 inch backer rod. Here I'm using the nail gun to attach the edge to the counter. I glued up the back first, then clamped it so that it would stay in place while I attach it. I'm filling in the gap behind the new edge with Bondo. Our homeowner braved the smell to come over and watch the process. Yes.
Gotcha.
However, also if you put too much, it can also get a bit rubbery.
Okay.
So do that. And I'll be cleaning that up. And with that, what you do, you grab the plate, you kind of fold it into itself, kind of scraping it and folding it to make sure that it mixes. And the way you can tell when it's mixed is when the two-part coloration finishes having these light and dark spots. When it's all blended into a pink color,
Right.
it's when it's properly mixed.
Okay.
You want to make sure to do this kind of quickly because it's already going to be setting up
Right.
while it's mixing. So you have to
Pretty well though.
Yeah, pretty quick.
Benny?
So now that that's good, you just get your scraper here and put that over. Just kind of scrape off the excess, and we're going to be sanding it smooth. But before then, you need to just plop it on. You do that, and as you can see, it's filling up that gap really nicely.
It's kind of like satisfying to watch. It's like,
Yeah. It's the especially nice part is after you're glopping it on and you're just taking that excess off.
Right.
It's really nice. The end result is seamless and smooth. So, as you can see, it's smooth over here, so now completely, yeah, it doesn't really look like laminate anymore. Make sure to sand around the corners.
Wow. Looks great. So smooth.
Yeah.
And it's like it's part of it. It looks like this was always here, you know?
We've sanded the top of the counter, and now it's time to apply the bonding primer. This is a semi-transparent, gesso-like material that turns non-porous surfaces into canvases my paint can adhere to. After we put on one coat and let it dry, the paint goes right on top. After that, I am now ready to mix and pour out the epoxy, just like I did on the island, and the homeowner thinks it looks a little like...
Elmer's glue.
It does look like it, yes. And it's the same process as it was on the island. We're just troweling it out, chopping it, and then torching it. Because always, paint rollers and paint brushes, what happens is they will drink, because they're so dry, they will absorb a lot of the paint.
Oh, wow.
They will get it off of your palette or off of your countertop surface before it actually paints on there. So you want to get it full of epoxy before you start popping. So otherwise you'll just end up with a dry spot.
Is that something you guys just figured out, or you learned that from the stone
Learned that from the channel, but also
Okay.
from being an artist.
Yeah.
It can lead to some good effects, not only a light amount of paint, such as dry brushing, where you're only going over the rough edges of something and highlighting it. If you have just the barest amount spread on your brush, and then just dust over it, it makes it the illusion of giving light on it.
Okay.
But if you don't want that and you're just putting down paint, then it comes out patchy.
Right. Okay.
Now that I've got that done, I'm just going to start chopping in some pewter metallic. You said that you wanted it very light. That's why I'm going very light on the pattern.
Okay.
Part of why it's good to chop everywhere is so that there's a sort of pattern and texturing everywhere.
Right.
Now you want some areas that are more pigmented, but you make sure that everywhere gets at least a little bit so that way it looks more realistic. Because real stone, no spot should be one pure pigment. It's all completely fractured.
That makes sense. I like it. So, are you gonna do lines
Yes.
in this?
She will.
Yes.
Yeah, she'll be able to do.
This goes down as kind of a background first,
Right.
and then it goes on top.
And it's gonna be even lighter than this.
Wow.
They just gotta get it down first and then torch it.
Look at this, John.
For this part, which is also why the diamond dust you can see it a bit more, is instead this is white metallic.
Gotcha.
Kind of similar. Part of the thing that's special about the diamond dust instead of the regular glitter is the fact that the chunks are shaped differently than the glitter. See, because the glitter is just these round circular pieces that are very small, but they're still circular and shiny. They reflect in a certain way, and these are just these very natural chunks that get crushed up to here.
Nice.
I see now it's more whiter than it was the dark, so I see.
Yeah.
Okay. I usually wait till it gets to at least 4.
Oh my gosh.
Doesn't look like anything else is in there. Nope. Come on. I'm softening some of the brush marks that I made with a heat gun. The heat gun allows the epoxy to heat up and allows the colors to flow a bit more smoothly into each other. And the air helps to push them out.
And then was it 30 days before we set anything heavy on it?
Yes, but you got the durability coat, which means that speeds up the process to only 3 days.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's even better.
Now I'm just getting down my veins, and as you can see, I'm dragging those out with my stick, and I'll just be blasting them open with a heat gun. I sanded the counters with 220 grit sandpaper and wiped all of the dust off. Here I am just checking the counters with my hand to feel for any remaining dust particles. I poured out the epoxy and will trowel, chop, and torch just like on the base coat. Here's a close-up with the torch. If you look closely, you can see bubbles on the surface. As I run across those with the flame, the heat causes the bubbles to burst and any trapped bubbles beneath the surface to rise up. I will torch the surface 3 times, which ensures all bubbles are popped and the surface lays out like a sheet of glass. Now I'm just adding the clear coat to the other counter in the kitchen. To support the island, we are adding 3 hidden L brackets that the homeowner bought. Finally, I'm rolling out the ultimate top coat layer. This takes the high gloss down to a low sheen finish and adds the ultimate level of durability and scratch resistance. I'm adding a silicone adhesive to the island, and my mom even stopped by to look at the homeowner's new counters. Hi, Mom! Then we install the island onto the brackets, and everyone loves the new look. Even the dogs loved the new kitchen. So, Ashley, tell us a little about yourself.
Basically, I bought this house a couple years ago. I loved it. The only thing I didn't care for too much was the flooring, which I had just recently redone, and then the counters, which were dark and made the kitchen look dark and just not really airy and open. I decided to get on Stone Coat's website. I actually was on their Facebook, and I saw Nalani's work on there, and I loved what I saw right away. I saw that she was in Vegas, and I just wanted to get in touch with her and see what she could do, see if she can come look at my kitchen, and the rest is history. Everything has been going pretty smoothly since. The color is beautiful. Nalani did an amazing job with all of the details in here. It's exactly what I asked for. She basically, you know, she did the sample board for me, and I made a couple changes, you know, last minute, and she was able to completely do exactly what I wanted. Really, I can't stop staring at them. They're so pretty. So I do like the top coat. I was really not sure if I wanted to go with the clear coat or the top coat, which is more of the matte look. To me, I wanted more of a natural stone, and so I went with the top coat, and that is perfect. I love it.
Yeah, some people prefer the high gloss look, but for others, the nice honed look just sort of pulls it all together.
Right.
As well as it gives it an extra layer of durability and gets it a bit quicker to being able to use it.
Absolutely. And that's another thing I really like, is the fact that I can put stuff on it and I'm not going to have to worry about, I mean, with the honed, there's just that extra durability to it. I'm not going to have to worry about anything that could possibly happen. I don't know what would happen with the other coat, because I know that coat's really durable as well, but this is just an extra added layer. I'm happy with it.
And I like that the pattern that you picked is a lot lighter and seems to be a lot more reflective. It's sort of, the previous pattern with the laminate was very dark and sort of absorbed light, and with this it instead reflects light.
Yes.
Which sort of makes it brighter in the room.
Absolutely,
Which
it's
is very
so much
nice.
brighter. That dark countertop really, like she said, it absorbed all the light, so it just looks so much darker in here than it needed to be. Just changed it completely.
If you liked that video, make sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to see more project videos like this one. Make sure to share with all your friends. Show everyone this amazing counter that we managed to do over from old laminate. And make sure to comment below on what you think of this new countertop surface. Time, and from all of us here at Stonethetic, built by you, built for less, built to last. We'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.